Chandamama Ramayana, 56th part. Ravana, who set out for war with Yam, reached Yamloka and saw there sinners undergoing hellish tortures and the virtuous experiencing heavenly pleasures. The Yamkinkaras, who were of hideous form and cruel, were making the sinners be eaten by worms and bitten by dogs. They were making them wade through the Vaitarani river and tormenting them by making them lie on heaps of burning sand. Those undergoing those sufferings were like corpses and were writhing in pain and thirst. On another side, those who had earned merit were experiencing the fruits of merit in the form of all pleasures. Ravana, seeing the sufferings endured by countless sinners, felt pity and began to set them free. Seeing that, the Yamadutas became angry. They rushed upon Ravana and hurled clubs, spears, maces, shaktis and tomaras at the Pushpaka. Some swarmed over the Pushpaka like bees and began to break and throw away the seats, platforms and pavilions within it. However, since it was an inexhaustible Vimana, no matter how much they destroyed, it remained intact as before. In the meantime, Narada went directly to Yam. Yam honored him with Arghya and Padya, inquired about his welfare, and wished to know the purpose of his visit. O Yamdharmaraja, an invincible Rakshasa named Dashagriva is coming against you for war, to conquer and subdue you. What is to become of your Yamdanda? Said Narada. Even as he was speaking, the radiant Pushpaka appeared in the distance. Ravana fought with the Yamkinkaras for some time and finally employed the Pashupatastra upon them. Like a forest fire, it reduced the trees and bushes in that region to ashes and spread its flames in all directions, consuming everything. The Yamadutas were burnt in those flames like locusts. Ravana and his ministers let out a terrifying roar that shook all directions. Hearing that roar, Yam realized that Ravana had prevailed in the battle, summoned his charioteer, and ordered him to prepare his chariot for war. In a moment, the chariot yoked with red horses arrived. Mrityu Devi stood before Yam in the chariot, holding a noose and a make. When Yam mounted the chariot, the Kaladanda was on one side and the Kalapashas on the other. As Yam set out for war in this manner, the three worlds were thrown into turmoil. The gods trembled. The chariot horses, swift as the mind, brought Yam's chariot before Ravana in a moment. Seeing the exceedingly terrifying chariot of Yam along with Mrityu Devi, the ministers of Ravana were seized with fear and fled in all four directions. Ravana, however, did not fear even in the least and stood firm. A great and terrible battle took place between the two for 7 nights. Yam grievously wounded Ravana with the weapons he employed. Yet Ravana did not accept defeat, nor did he flee the battlefield. On the contrary, he caused great pain to Yam, Mrityu Devi, and the charioteer with his arrows. Seeing this, Mrityu said to Yam, O Yamdharmaraja, let me fight this Rakshasa. I shall kill him in a moment. To slay is my right. I have witnessed the deaths of countless Rakshasas. I have seen worlds upon worlds perish at the time of dissolution. What is he in comparison? You remain watching. I myself shall slay him, said Yam, and lifted the Kaladanda. It appeared extremely terrifying, spitting flames. As Yam was about to hurl it at Ravana, Brahma appeared and said, O Yamdharmaraja, do not employ it. If Ravana dies by this, the boon I granted him will become false. If he does not die, the purpose for which I created this Kaladanda will become false. I created this staff along with Mrityu in the past to be unfailing. Therefore, if you use the Kaladanda upon Ravana, my word will become futile in one way or another. Respecting the word of Brahma, Yam set aside the Kaladanda. Not knowing what to do on the battlefield when there was no possibility of slaying Ravanasura, Yam vanished along with his chariot and departed to Swarga with Brahma. Ravana proclaimed that he had conquered Yam and went to Yampura in the Pushpaka. Narada, who witnessed all this with his own eyes, experienced supreme joy. Having conquered Yam and received praise from ministers such as Maricha, Ravana set out in the Pushpaka for Patla Loka. Entering the ocean under the dominion of Varuna, he took possession of Bhogavati, the city where Nagas such as Vasuki reside, and went to the city named Manimti, where the Nivatakavachas dwell. The Nivatakavachas, who possessed various weapons and were invincible, engaged in battle with Ravana. Even though the war continued for 1 year, neither victory nor defeat was decided. Then Brahma arrived there in an aerial vehicle, made peace between both sides, established friendship between them in the presence of Agni, and departed. Ravana stayed as a guest of the Nivatakavachas for a year, lived happily as though in his own city, learned 99 Maya techniques unknown to him from them, and then set out in search of the city where Varuna resides. On the way, he came upon Ashmandara, where the Kalakeyulu dwell. There, a battle took place between Ravana and the Kalakeyulu. Ravana slew many Kalkeya warriors. Among those who were slain was Vidyujeva, the husband of Shurpankha. He was arrogant in his strength, and would extend his tongue like lightning and lick Rakshasas. Ravana slew him by cutting him down with a sword. Hundreds of Kalkeya warriors were slain by Ravana. From there, Ravana proceeded to the palace of Varuna. That building was like a white cloud and like Kailas. There, Ravana beheld the Kamdhenu named Surbhi, which constantly streamed forth milk. From its milk arose the Kshirosagra. From that ocean were born the moon and the nectar. Some great sages subsist upon the foam of that ocean. Nandi, the vehicle of Shiva, was born of that Kamdhenu. Ravana circumambulated that Kamdhenu and approached the palace of Varuna. The warriors of Varuna fought with Ravana. Ravana slew their leaders and said, "Tell Varuna that Ravana has come to wage war with his warriors." The sons and grandsons of Varuna mounted chariots with their retinues and came against Ravana, but were defeated in an instant by Ravana and his ministers. After their retinues were destroyed, the sons of Varuna fought heroically and were themselves wounded. When Ravana sent word to Varuna, it was learned that Varuna was not present and had gone to Brahmaloka to listen to music. Ravana proclaimed victory, mounted the Pushpaka, and returned to Ashmandara. While he was wandering there, filled with arrogant pride, he beheld a wondrous mansion. It was adorned with lapis lazuli arches, pearl festoons, golden pillars, and crystal steps. Ravana said to Prahasta, "Go and find out whose beautiful mansion this is." When Prahasta crossed the first enclosure and entered, he saw no one. As he proceeded inward, crossing the 7 enclosures, he beheld a blazing flame. Within it was a divine being, radiant like the sun, such that none could gaze upon him. That great being laughed joyfully upon seeing Prahasta. Hearing that laughter, Prahasta's body thrilled with wonder. He immediately returned to Ravana and reported all that he had seen. Hearing this, Ravana descended from the Pushpaka, and as he entered that mansion, a fearsome form appeared, completely occupying the entrance. There was a moon upon its head. Terrible flames issued from its mouth. Its eyes and lips were red, its face white, and its hair stood erect. It had thick mustaches, a beard, and very large fangs. It held a great make in its hand. Seeing that fearsome form, Ravana's entire body trembled. That form looked at Ravana and said, "O Rakshasa, do not fear. Tell me your desire." "I seek battle," said Ravana. "With whom will you fight? With me, or with Bali?" asked that form. "I shall fight the one to whom this house belongs, or whomever you direct me to," said Ravana. "Bali is within. If you wish, fight that great soul without hesitation," said that form. Ravana entered within and could not gaze upon Bali, who shone like the sun. Bali easily lifted Ravana, seated him upon his thigh, and said, "On what purpose have you come, my child? Tell me your desire, and I shall fulfill it. It is nothing else, O Great One. They say that Vishnu once deceived you and confined you. I have the power to release you. Therefore, I have come to accomplish that task," said Ravana. "Is that so? Then I shall tell you a small matter. Bring that earring lying there," said Bali. When Ravana went near and saw, the earring was as large as a great V. Ravana tried to lift it easily but was humiliated. It did not move. Even using both hands and all his strength, he could not move it in the least. Seeing this, Bali called Ravana near and said, "That earring which you could not move was worn by our ancestor Hiranyakashipu. Though he had obtained boons that he should not die by anyone, he was finally slain by Vishnu in the form of Narsimha, the very same Vishnu you saw at the entrance. He ever remains there." Hearing these words, Ravana came to the entrance in anger, but he saw no one there. Chandamama Ramayana, 56th part is complete. For now, Swasti.